Hello everyone. Today we are going to start the new topic, that is from the new aspect, that is infection. I am Dr. S.R. Deshmukh, S.H. Jaiswal College, Arjuni More. So let us start the new topic, infection from medical microbiology. First we'll see what is the infection and some basic terminology related to the infection. You can see here the infection means the lodgement and multiplication of parasite in or on the tissues of a host is termed as the infection. So infection means only the entry of pathogen and their multiplication in the human being, not necessarily the disease. That is termed as the infection. In related to infection, various terminology, you should also know the term parasite. Parasite means these are the microbes that can establish themselves and multiply in the host, that are referred as the parasite. Similarly, the term parasite may be either pathogen or the common cell. If the particular microorganism or the microbes are the parasite, but not necessarily they should be the pathogen, that may be the common cells. The pathogen means these are the microorganisms that are capable of producing a disease in the host, so that can cause the harm to the host, that are referred as the pathogens. While the term common cells, the common cells is used for the microbes which live in complete harmony with the host without causing any damage to the host. So these two terms you must should know, what is the pathogens and what is the common cell. Pathogen which is able to cause the harm, while the common cells which is not causing any harm to the host, that is referred as the common cells. Now in related to infection, the first aspect is how to classify them. There are different ways you can classify the infection. The one of the infection is referred as the primary infection. The name itself suggests the initial infection with a parasite in a host is called as the primary infection. Everybody know the term primary. When it appears initially, that is referred as the initial infection. And subsequent infections by the same parasite in the host is called as the reinfection. Now here you must understand the term reinfection. Reinfection means the subsequent infection by the same parasite, while the term used is the secondary infection, when a new parasite set up an infection in a host whose resistance is lowered by the pre-existing disease, called as the secondary infection. Here you should not confuse with the reinfection with the secondary, because reinfection is by the same parasite, while secondary infection is the first infection caused by the any organism which lower the resistance, and subsequently the other parasite can cause the harm to the host, then that is referred as the secondary infection. Now coming to the next term, that is the cross infection. When in patient already suffering from a disease, a new infection is set up from another host or any other external source is called as the cross infection. Here the term cross infection itself suggests, if already patient is already having the disease, and when it acquires the new infection from other host or the external source, that is referred as the cross infection. The best example of the cross infection is here the nosocomial infection. That's why in the nosocomial infections we have defined it, the cross infections occurring in the hospitals are called as the nosocomial infections, and these are also referred as the hospital infection. So nosocomial infection means is nothing but the cross infection which is occurring in the hospital. The another term related to the nosocomial infection is the iatrogenic infection. It is physician-induced infection. The term you can understand, physician-induced infection, and that can result when some aseptic precautions are not taken, that is from investigative, therapeutic or other procedure, and that result in the infection, that is referred as the iatrogenic or physician-induced infection. Now in this case, there are various ways you can classify the infection. The one of the other two terms are used, that is the endogenous infection When the source of infection is within the host own body itself, then it is called as the endogenous. But when the source of infection is outside the host own body, then it is referred as the exogenous infection. So infection may be endogenous when it's host's own body, or exogenous. Exo means outside. When the source is outside the human body, then it is known as the exogenous. Based on the clinical effect, the infection may be classified as a atypical infection, where the typical or characteristic clinical manifestations of a particular diseases are not present. Then the infection is referred as the atypical infection. While the other infection, that is the inapparent infection, is one where the clinical effects are not apparent. And the third term used is the local infection, is one in which some parasites may remain in the tissues in a latent or the hidden form, and they proliferate and produce the disease when the host resistance is lowered. That is referred as the local infection. They remain at the local site, particular site, in the hidden form, and then they will produce the infection because of the resistance for when loaded by the particular host. That is referred as the local infection. In the other way, in the classification of infection, it may be the acute infection. The term itself suggests the acute infection in with the severe symptoms and in the short course, that is referred as the acute infection. The best example is certain bacterial infection like cholera or the diarrhea. It is referred as the acute infection. And second term used is the chronic infection. The term itself suggests that when the infection with a long duration involving the slow changes in the host, that is referred as the chronic infection. So the best example is the various fungal infection of the skins. They are generally the chronic one. They do not seen earlier, but they appear and the host will show the changes. The other term is the local infection. A local infection is an infection that is located on one part of the body instead of being in the whole body. So particularly at one site, not in the whole body, and it remains localized at a particular site. That is known as the local infection. While the term used is the systemic infection. The systemic means affecting the entire body. The organism spread via lymph channels to lymph nodes and then to the bloodstream, which leads to the dissemination of the organism, resulting in the systemic type of the infection. So in this way, the infection may be local or may be the systemic when a whole body is involved. In the other case, the infection may be classified as epidemic, endemic, and the pandemic. Here first we'll see the endemic, the disease which is constantly present in a particular area like enteric fever is known as the endemic infection, where every person is suffering in a particular region with the enteric fever. While the epidemic, it occurs in a particular area. So the disease that spread rapidly involving the large population in a particular area at the same time, like cholera or meningococcal meningitis, is referred as the epidemic infection. Epidemic means in a particular area large population is involved. That is referred as the epidemic infection. While the term pandemic, so it is the epidemic that spread rapidly over large areas of the world involving the very large number of the persons. In earlier period like influenza, enteroviral conjunctivitis, in the old era there was the plague which was the pandemic. The presently the COVID-19 is the pandemic which is now you see the spread in the whole world, that is referred as the pandemic type of the infection. We'll see some other definitions which are related to the infections such as the bacteremia. Bacteria means it is the circulation of the bacteria in the blood. Only the presence of bacteria in the blood is referred as the bacteremia. While the term septicemia is used, it is the condition where the bacteria circulate and multiply in the blood, forming the toxic products and causes the high fever. So basic difference you can see, bacteria means only presence and its circulation, while the septicemia means its multiplication, formation of some toxic product and the circulation of that product, that is referred as the septicemia. The term used the pyemia. It is also the septicemia which is caused by the pyogenic bacteria. So it is the condition where the pyogenic bacteria produce the septicemia with multiple abscesses in the internal organs like spleen, liver and kidney, and that term is used for that purpose is the pyemia. While the term toxemia include, the toxemia term itself suggests, so it is the condition resulting from the spread of the bacterial products or the toxin by the bloodstream. So not only bacteria multiply, they also produce the toxins and their products. This toxin gets spread through the bloodstream, that is referred as the toxemia. While the term used is the viremia, the presence of the virus and their circulation in the blood is called as the viremia. It is similar to the bacteremia. For bacteremia we are use the term, for bacteria we are use the term bacteriemia, and for viruses we are using the term viremia. Thank you very much for watching this video, and next lecture will be posted soon. Thank you.